What's going on, Broncos Country? Let's hide. I am Snickers. This is Indy Snack. This is the Snick Snack Sports Fantasy Football Podcast coming at you live Thursday night. How are you doing today, Nate?
Doing great, Snickers. How are you?
Doing great. Watching some Thursday night football, some Baker Mayfield. Haven't seen him play in a while.
Yeah, very excited to have him on the rants. Sean McVay, I heard, is a big fan. Maybe he'll have a reemergence. We can always hope. We are coming at you this week, both out of the playoffs. We're coming just for you, our league, as we cover the rest of this season that we are not a part of. It's excited to get into it. So we have Kyler on the show tonight, who is very much a contender this year, hoping for the bye week, but not secured yet. And we have some interesting ideas for our bet. Why don't you talk about what happened first last week, Snickers, with our bet?
Yeah, what happened last week? We were picking between Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders and Brett Maher of the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys scored 54 points, only 6 extra points, I believe. 2 missed 2-point conversions did not help us out very much at all. DC, Dan Carlson did get the W and bring Nate up 8-4 here. So that's a little unfortunate. Got to win out in order to get the tie, and we'll see exactly what happens with the rules a little bit later on here. But this week, got a lock here. I'm picking Joey Burrow over the Cleveland Browns, and then Nate's picking Justin Herbert over the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. Who's going to score higher? I think Joey B is going to be able to pull that one out.
That's what the projectors are saying. Now, we thought this was a good matchup because it's the Kyler versus Matt matchup this week. Kyler basically needs to win in order to get the bye week. These two, I assume, are rivals, the number 1 and number 4 pick or something in that year's draft. And Justin Herbert has historically outperformed the number 1 overall pick. So I'm excited to look forward to it. Now, to just preview our idea brought to you by Kyle, we are thinking of both putting together our bracket next week for the playoffs, which will be a total of 5 matchups. And we're thinking that we'll show you our whole predictions next week each, and then we will get 1 point and our bet score for each matchup, and then 2 points if you can correctly predict the winner, which could be a swing of 6 points if someone is all wrong and someone is all right. So Snickers has some hope, even if he doesn't win out.
So all you have is hope.
And some of our teams don't have hope, but we still have this bet. Now let's get into last week's rewind, which will make pretty quick this week. All right, so looking at the ESPN summary here, we're going to go through most of these matchups pretty quickly because only a couple of them actually mattered this week. We can see that I did come out victorious with against Carson. I think I had the highest scoring game of the year for me, maybe the highest scoring game ever for my team, but it didn't matter, except for in terms of places. I still can pass Kenny in the standings, and we'll get into the standings more in a little bit. We're actually going to talk about them with Kyler. But Devontae Adams has become wide receiver number 1. Jalen Hurts continues to be awesome. Nothing new there. And then Carson once again played Joe Mixon when he didn't play. That happened 2 weeks in a row. And that's probably enough for him to lose. Now, Snickers, what happened with Kyle this week? I bet he's feeling good about this.
Yeah, Kyle definitely got a bounce back game. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs getting a big win over the New England Patriots on Thursday. And overall, it looks like Nick Adams' team did not do very well outside of CMC. Got a lot of L's on that side of the table here. And Kyle won with Nico Collins on his team. So that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, no, one thing you kind of skim over here, but Tom Brady actually outscored Josh Allen, which might be the first time that's happened this year. So he did not win because of Josh Allen at all.
It's absolutely true. TB is the GOAT for a reason, and he's more handsome than Josh Allen. So,
I mean, this game was ugly. I'm surprised that Tom scored this many points, but
yeah, it'd be a good question. How many points those came in the last 3 minutes of the game?
I would guess half.
Yeah.
Now, Shane came up victorious. This game was important, and it actually was a big boost for him because these are probably two of the favorites for the finals. And if this is what the finals look like, it's not going to be a very interesting match.
Yeah, I mean, Katie came across with a couple good players here. Obviously, Dobson Knox left the game early Thursday with an injury after getting hit in the face with the football. Jalen Waddle left with an injury. George Kittle is not doing that well, but Shane's front four there is helping to secure him a playoff spot and hopefully a bye maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Pollard continues to be huge for Katie. I understand that he's in like a top 5 running back on the year now, which is just no one would have predicted that. And Katie has 2 winning quarterbacks, which is something that we underestimated. It was a down week for her, but I continue to curse Katie. I'm going to say that she bounces back, which means we can almost guarantee she won't. Sorry, Katie. Now, the big matchup of the week was the Olive Man versus Kenny, and it was a bit of a dud. I mean, it wasn't close, 70 to 103. Both teams didn't do great.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny came in playing He Who Should Not Be Named and was hoping to get a little bit better, but it turns out all of the Browns' touchdowns came on special teams or defense, so that wasn't a very good play for him. Looking back at it, Donovan Knight being his high scorer of the week, but Ducky has basically secured his playoff spot. We'll talk about it in a minute here, but if he wins this week, he's definitely in the playoffs right now. His team's not looking that bad.
No, yeah, I mean, this was a bit of a down week for him, but it wasn't. I mean, really, Alvin Kamara is the one that I think he has to be the most worried about in terms of he should be one of his best players, but hasn't been performing. And he needs to solve his hole at tight end. I don't think Tyler is the answer.
That's true. And Kamara and Olave on by this week. We'll see what he can do.
Now, you came out with a big win this week, maybe securing your not last place.
I did. I was very happy with it. I needed Mike Evans Monday night to score, I think, like 6 or 7 points. He ended up with 7.9, so I was able to get past Matt here. For the win, Christian Watson continues to be probably the best receiver in football the last couple of weeks, very surprisingly. And then obviously, like we said, the Browns defense scored a lot of points in that matchup against the Houston Texans. But Matt did put up a pretty decent, average score here. And I was able to finally get a win over me and Matt like to go 1-1 in the season series usually.
Yeah, Christian Watson is headed towards double-digit touchdowns, and he's basically only played 4 games this year, which is crazy. 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games, and he otherwise was pretty uninvolved. So Aaron Rodgers finally has his favorite, and it's working out.
Yeah.
And then our last matchup was John versus Kyler. This was John's last hope, and he blew it, and he's out.
He is, and Kyler getting the win definitely keeps him in contention for the bye here. But yeah, John, outside of Amon-Ra, was pretty disappointing overall, I would say.
Agreed. Yeah, it's too bad that John's season had to go out with a kind of in lack of dramatic fashion, but that's how things go in fantasy sometimes. And this year, especially, I guess maybe because we have our eye on it more closely, we've seen a lot of teams go out very suddenly. But tell us about the news this week.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happened. One thing I want to give a big shout out. Brittany Griner of the WNBA is finally free from Russia. She's on a plane. She should be back in the U.S. right now. Huge news from the sports world. Back to the NFL. Baker Mayfield got waived by the Carolina Panthers on Monday, got picked up by the Rams on Tuesday, and is playing right now on Thursday Night Football. Marcus Mariota is benched probably for the rest of the season. Arthur Smith wants to see what they have in Desmond Ridder, the 3rd-round pick. He's going to be playing on Sunday. Jalen Waddle last week went out. Jimmy Garoppolo's out basically for the season. So he's out 7 to 8 weeks. Brock Purdy's going to be starting. And Kenneth Walker got hurt last week. He's not rolled out this week, but the whole Seattle backfield is a big mess right now. We're going to see exactly how that works out this week. And this is the last week of buys for fantasy. We got the Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Colts, Packers, and Bears that are not playing this week. So that's going to be hurting a lot of teams here.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the fantasy season goes, Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the year, but he could play in the Super Bowl. I think, if they were to make it there. So
that's basically what's going on. Sounds like Odell might be able to do that too.
very nice. Yeah, actually, I have not been following the Odell thing as closely, but looks like I know Matt picked him up. Maybe not gonna be super useful for his fantasy year, but now let's get into the look ahead, which is what you're all really here for this week. All right, before we let our guest onto the show today, Kyler, we just have a quick word from today's sponsor.
Who are you gonna call when you're real hungry? The Olive Man. Who are you gonna call when you're in trouble? The Olive Man. Who are you gonna call when you need drugs? The Olive Man. Who are you gonna call when you need to topple an oppressive regime? The Olive Man. Whatever your need is, give the Olive Man a call. He's a fruit that can get things done.
Well, there you go. The Olive Man trying to sell out. I'm not sure exactly what he's selling.
Sounds like meat on a spoon is what I was hearing.
I think he was saying the Olive Man, but I'm not 100% sure. But things are getting spicy over in at Ducky's house, so hit him up. And now please welcome Kyler to the show. Now. All right. Thanks for joining us today, Kyler. How you doing?
I'm doing good, The beginning of the game tonight, Thursday Night Football, hasn't gone quite as I'd hoped, but I'm still doing all right. Still in it. Still here.
Yeah, let's jump right in and pull up the standings, because you are one of the finals favorites, I would have to say. Just looking at you're currently in second place, and if you and Shane are both tied at 9-4. And you're not playing each other this week, which means that if you both win your respective matchups, the tiebreaker is points for, and you have an edge on him by 0.1. Now, for those who watched last week, we did think head-to-head was a tiebreaker. We got a correction from Kyle. It's not a tiebreaker. It only matters points for. And so, yeah, Kyler, how are you feeling about your chances of bye week here?
Well, from the beginning of the season, my team's put in a lot of time, effort, hard work, but teams worked hard to get here, so I'm glad we're still in the playoff hunt. It's always nice to be on the top end of the the standings when it comes down to coming into the playoffs here. But every point matters. 0.1 points, that's all it could take, and that's the difference between a bye week and having to play to get in the next round. So I mean, it's going to be close. It's fun to watch. Makes every weekend worth watching.
Yeah, and if my memory serves, you're not unfamiliar with being at the top in this league.
No, I've been there a couple of times. I like being reminded of it. I won't lie about that. But I've had some success in the past. We have a good team. Just rebuild every year, recruit the rookies, and keep building.
Absolutely. It is crazy when we played 13 games so far, and right now the decision on who makes it to the second round of the playoffs is based on like one quarterback kneeling it down at the end of the game one time, maybe.
Yeah, a quarterback takes a kneel and goes back 2 yards. That could be the difference.
It really could.
What's really interesting about these standings right now is the top 6 people are looking like they're going to make the playoffs. None of those 6 made the finals in the last 2 years or so. With me and Nick Adams and Nate and everyone just sitting on the out of the playoffs right now. So it'll be a really fun playoff run, it sounds like, for everybody involved.
And we do have keepers too. That that plays a role in that. Which the team's a little better than last year's team. So you're right, that is shocking.
Yeah, a lot of turnover this year, more than usual. And so your game and Shane's game are some of the more important ones. Now, if you both lose, it is actually possible for Kyle to get the bye week instead of either of you if he wins, because he has almost 100 points more than you do.
Well, I'm playing all my best players because I got a lot of Christmas shopping I got to get done. So that bye week, I could definitely get a a lot of stuff done that week rather than sweating over watching every second of every game for those point 0.1 and 0.2 points.
Absolutely, I feel that. The other one for all you out there to look at is Kenny is not out yet. He does have 22 points less than Ducky after last week's a bit of embarrassment. But if he outscores Nick by 22 points and Nick loses and he wins, then he's in. So a little bit convoluted to get Kenny in there, but he does have a 17% chance according to ESPN.
Crazier things have happened.
Certainly they have. So now let's look at these matchups. Kyler, tell us about what's going on here so we can see that you're currently projected for, I have a pretty healthy projection here at, well, it says 102, but I believe that's with, the defense on bye, sir, and I'm sure you're going to change that out.
Correct. I have some, I don't want to reveal all my secrets. I have a couple waivers in, some tricks up my sleeve to improve my defensive position there. I just picked up a kicker. I took the one kicker off free agency and swapped him out with my kicker was going against the Buccaneers or my Buccaneers kicker was going against the 49ers this week. So I wasn't too confident in him. Switched him out with, I think it's the Vikings kicker who's going against Detroit. And I mean, if I was the quarterback, I could probably get some points against Detroit. So I think that'll help. And then to be determined, but we'll see who pops in the defense. And it should even out the matchup pretty close between me and Matt.
Yeah, I know you were saying things aren't going so well for you in this Thursday night game, but so far it's roughly halftime, and Josh Jacobs actually has 13 points. He doubles that. That's a very strong start for him. And meanwhile, the Raiders can fall apart at any moment. Their defense is terrible, so a very risky play on Matt's part. Yeah,
I mean, the Rams have their struggles. McVay didn't look too happy after that fumble, but they struggle. But like you said, a couple of quick turns of events, points go up on the board, and Raiders defensive drops down to only scoring 2-3 points instead. So I don't think Jacobs is on pace for a 50-point game like I was hoping for, like he had a couple weeks ago. But you're right, nothing wrong with a 25, 30-point match. If he throws that up, I'll be happy.
Yeah, and I think the other one that you really care about here is Shane. Now, Shane is projected at 114, which is very similar to Matt at the moment. But he outscores you and you both win. He got the bye. So you really have two matchups this week.
Yep, keeping eyes on all of them. It is a shame that Matt's Cooper Kupp isn't in the lineup. Matt could have had Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase in there. I know it's been from the beginning of the season that was a talking point. So to see both of them not in the lineup together, a relief. Definitely helps my chances here.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with Shane looking like a plus matchup right now. As long as you can get the points, you're going to get the bye here.
Yeah, Shane's definitely got a good team together this year. There's no doubt about that. If we don't, we'll probably meet in the playoffs if nothing else.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jalen Waddle is listed as actually projected as scoring this week, but I understand that he has a chance to miss. And so that would really change things for Shane, because I don't know that he has a huge, the bench, he's going to have to put in like Julio Jones or something. So, really that would change things a lot. Now, who are you looking at, Snickers? We have a couple other teams that are very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the KD Kenny matchup right now. Is like we said, all there is hope, really. If Kenny wins, which he's currently projected to, KD has not replaced Aaron Jones yet and doesn't really have anyone good to replace Aaron Jones with. So that's actually pretty interesting. Kenny definitely has the possibility of winning this matchup. Would be all he can do in order to get in the playoffs. He has to wait for Ducky to lose and obviously outscore him as well. But I think it is pretty interesting, especially if Katie loses. She could end up possibly as a 2 seed if you were Shane outscorer. But it's most likely not going to happen. She's up on points by a lot. But we'll see exactly how if Katie
Sure.
Rice starters before the start of the playoffs here.
Is there any chance Katie loses her bye week?
So
You
what
or
would
Shane have to outscore by 100 points. Yeah.
they would both have to outscore by 100 points.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking, I guess.
Um,
It is shocking that she came on here and all she talked about was kickers, and somehow she's still winning the league.
And she's kept 2 kickers in her team for a couple weeks now.
Yep.
yeah, and
Apparently it's working.
yeah, the kicker focus might be something that more people take up now. She might be all talk because Carson, I believe, actually picked a kicker in the 6th or 7th round, and it did not work out quite as well for him. The other kind of kicker forward team. But yeah, the other matchup, of course, is the Olive Man, who we just heard a very sensual ad for, but he is playing against John, and John's team is crumbling. Kind of. I actually have no fear in Ducky losing this week. I think that was very bad luck on Kenny's part that this is the matchup that Ducky got this week.
Yeah, right now the Olive's looking really good. He's got Dak Prescott playing against Houston. Houston's another team that everybody can put up points against. And then, like you said, he's playing against, what is it, Ducky? And right now his quarterback and a couple other players are on bye weeks. So we'll see how that works out. But I think you're right. That should be a pretty easy win for him.
Yes, and it's not that he doesn't have replacements, but I don't know, I'm just not scared of John's team at the moment. And then, of course, me and Snickers games both matter none at all. I think we're both. Kyle does have to beat me if he wants to get the bye, but that's about it. I am actually predicted to beat him, but I'm sure that'll change with some bye week moving around. And let's look at very quickly the free agent report. There's actually not a lot going on this week. Snickers, I see you picked up Chuba Hubbard maybe for got the jersey, maybe a third candidate for a keeper if something goes weird on that team next year.
Yeah, I had the extra money at the end of the year. I'm not going to do anything with it in the playoff run, so I figured I might as well toss most of it out to get a running back because I am very decimated by buys this late in the season, which is a little strange, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest bye week of the year, actually tied with one other week. I forget which one, but one contender did actually make a big pickup. DJ Chark, filling in for bye weeks. It seems like based on his name. I don't know. He's been injured all year. He had a good week last week. That could actually matter. Interestingly enough.
What's the NFL thinking putting 6 teams on bye weeks when it comes down to the final week of fantasy?
It's like they're almost trying to give the middle finger to fantasy football. Even though that's what makes them all the money.
They're back. Exactly. Lines their pocket. They go and put 6 teams on bye weeks. Like, they should have given some teams off during Thanksgiving, let them, enjoy the holiday rather than having 6 off now when it comes down to crunch time for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is. They weirdly have not embraced fantasy football, even though I feel like half of football fans would not be watching if it wasn't for their fantasy team. I know that I wouldn't be watching anything besides the Patriots otherwise.
Take all the fantasy football players out of NFL stadium and you have about a quarter of the crowd.
That could be true. Anything else to add before we let you go today, Kyler?
No. Good luck to everybody. It's been a fun season, and I'm looking forward to the playoffs here. Hopefully come out with another trophy.
Yeah, what have you been telling your team going into the playoffs right now, no matter what seed you get here?
I don't want to reveal too many of the secrets from the pep talks because apparently they've been working. Got spies like Katie out there. Don't want to give her any secrets, but might be doing a little bit of Bill Belichick spygating on Katie's practices. So we'll be ready for the playoff.
That's what you got to do. There's no rules against it in our league, so all good with me. But thanks for joining us today, Kyler. We'll see you sometime soon.
Thanks for having me on. Good luck, guys. See ya.
Yep, good luck. All right, and now before we let you all go tonight, we just have one more segment. We have Caitlin's hot takes. We'll see what she has in store for us. A long time no see. I believe we missed you last week. You had the early bedtime, but you're back.
Yeah, we're already pushing it. 9:45 is normally my bedtime, so we're cutting it close.
9:34 right now. We have just enough time to squeeze you in. What are you here to share with us this week?
We're gonna discuss all the types of football. Since my ultimate hot take is that the NFL has to be dismantled, and we're trying to find its replacement. We're gonna talk about association football, gridiron football, rugby football, and then Gaelic and Aussie football.
Really? I am not familiar. I assume the gridiron football is just American football.
And Canadian.
Ah, I see. So
they're under that umbrella.
Well, it seems like you've done some preparation. Why don't you inform us why one or all of these sports are superior to the one that we here talk about?
I think footy, Aussie football, is the closest to the best kind of football because I really like the gladiator style stadium. How do you feel about that, Nick and Nate?
Yeah, I mean, gladiator style stadium is a lot of fun. They don't have a lot of those in the U.S. because of, the FCC. But being able to basically do whatever you want in Aussie football, there's a couple of the same rules, but there's a lot of, extra rules as far as fouls and, things go. It would be pretty fun to watch. I know Nate's been doing some research into Aussie football here.
Well, what about the round stadium itself, though? I feel like that has some good energy in it.
Yeah, no, it is very cool. I admit that I have been doing a little bit of research. I found out that the AFL, Australian Football League, is pretty much mirror to an NFL. They start right after the Super Bowl and it ends a couple weeks into the NFL season. And their field, I don't know if you realize this, Snickers, is 180 yards long and 150 yards wide, which is enormous. And so their stadiums hold like 100,000 people, which is just as big as like our college stadiums.
Yeah, you got to be really athletic to be able to run around the field that long.
So apparently a lot of Gaelic footballers go to Australia, even because they're similar enough sports, and Gaelic football is only amateur. But they don't have the fun round field for Gaelic football.
Huh. No, I actually have known nothing about Gaelic football.
Well, it's very similar to Aussie football. It's safer, I think, which I like. It doesn't sound like as much research is done because it is only amateur. Their football field looks more like the American football field, and their ball is round. And you can't just like go around and purposely tackling people full on the way you can in Aussie football. You can just kind of try to get the ball from them. Huh. And you can't just bump into people purposefully either.
So that's the part all of us love about football is when the violence.
No safety.
You also get free beer at the end of a Gaelic football game as well.
Maybe, except for they don't have a huge budget if they're all amateur. But now, what in the world is association football? Because that sounds like soccer.
It is soccer. And apparently the British called it soccer until recently. And then we started calling it soccer. And then they started being all snobby about it.
I see. Yeah, it was from, I think you shared with us on the show maybe that association football is actually short for
soccer,
is what soccer is abbreviated.
Yeah, the SOC part of association, I guess.
Strangest abbreviation ever, but so football is actually technically in the name soccer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think it's the lamest football. Well, I guess the next question is, so we're clearly all pro round stadium, even though it's probably not the most space efficient. Continuous play or non-continuous play?
I think you have to have non-continuous play to call it football, because else it's just going to be rugby or soccer.
But rugby is football. If you go to Wikipedia football, there's all the footballs.
Absolutely. But if you're saying what do I prefer, I think I prefer being able to stop, call plays, and execute them instead of just hoping you get the ball and hoping you score.
Yeah, I prefer that way too. I think it's more social. I have been watching a little bit of soccer with the World Cup, and it's a little bit harder for me to follow now. Aussie rules football is kind of in between because there are stoppages of play, but they're less common. So I'm going to try it out this season, and we'll see what I think. But I'm definitely probably not choosing it over American football.
I do like that Aussie football also. I mean, obviously you technically can kick in football, but it's not done a lot outside of very specific scenarios. I like how it seems like there's more of a mixture of like you run, you can kick, and then you can't throw, but you can do the
You can punch it out of your hand.
yeah. I like the variation.
No, interesting. I definitely am interested in learning more about the other versions of football, but so thank you for bringing that to a light.
Oh wait, is my time up?
Your time is up.
No.
Well,
But Aussie football has a similar concussion rate, and that's one more problem we have to discuss at a later date.
well, thank you for joining us, Caitlin. More hot takes next week. Sounds like some discussion or concussion talk. Thank you all for joining us this week, and we will see you next time.